Welcome back to All About Money. We're speaking with Aurelie Wen, who recently moved back to Europe after a stint in Hong Kong as APAC CEO of the open innovation company Wize. All right, Aurelie, why don't you tell us a bit first, what is open innovation?
Sure. Open innovation is basically a mindset where you believe that the best ideas, the best solutions for your organization or your company can really come from anywhere. And this is not just about ideas, it's also about using ideas, the technologies, and the best teams, no matter where they come from, to solve problems.
Okay. How common is it globally and versus how common is it in Hong Kong?
It's very mature in North America and in Europe. In Hong Kong, it's not that mature, honestly.
In what ways can you explain, give us a little bit more detail on that?
Sure. It was all the biggest open innovation programs. We often call them challenges or competitions as well. This is the typical forms that open innovation can take: idea contests, hackathons, marathons for innovation. So these are very, very strong in North America, especially in the US. Where I was based for 3 years. And for example, X Prize that is run every year by NASA offers $1 million for people who will be able to solve very, very big problems. Europe is the same, with maybe smaller amounts of money for competition and maybe less investment, but still very dominant and very mature. Now, when it comes to APAC, and I would say concretely about Hong Kong, because open innovation is about taking risks, is about exposing your company by saying out loud what are the problems you're facing, it's very more timid. To be honest, the companies that Wize works with essentially in Hong Kong are actually Western companies based in Hong Kong.
Tell us then, what is Wize's role in all of this? What does it exactly do? And what was your role when you were the APAC CEO here?
Sure. Wize really acts as the bridge. It's an online platform that connects both companies that need to solve big problems with millions of innovators out there who want to solve problems and who may have solutions to solve these problems. And the very interesting part is that today it's very hard to match both of these worlds. They don't really talk to each other. And so what Wize does is that we contact companies and we connect them with millions of innovators worldwide through an online platform in the form of online competitions in order to spark, that innovation that we really, really need to move forward as companies and as organizations.
Right. So how would you address the concern that innovators might have when it comes to open innovation, which potentially leaves their great ideas to be capitalized by someone else?
That is a great question. That's a fear that everyone has. Getting your ideas be stolen, right? Whether it's from a big corp or a friend or some people out there. What people need to understand that first, there are very great frameworks of intellectual property out there that are very, very fit for open innovation and really innovating with everybody. And second, you need to understand, and people need to understand, that ideas are just commodities. They are commodities as long as you don't act on them. And really, everything is about execution at the end of the day. I can have today a great idea to solve global warming. It's in my head. I can put it on slides, but I've never developed or built anything for it. And so this is a commodity. What people need to understand that every big innovation that happened was a product. Every modern innovation that we've seen is the product of collaboration, and that's how open innovation thrives in the 20th and 21st century, because we are super connected. People work. You can work tomorrow with someone at the other side of the planet. That's no problem, and you can create an amazing solution. And then all these concerns about getting your ideas being stolen are gone, because when you use a framework such as Creative Commons, which is a great IP sharing model, there's no problem with that. It really translates very, very easily in simple words about the legal framework around, ideas and solutions that are co-created.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us, do you have any sort of success stories that are particularly interesting you could share with us?
Sure. For example, we've run 2,000 challenges actually in the past, but one of the ones that's a lot, 2,000 challenges in 10 years and 5 million innovators. One of the things that really was extremely emotional for all of us was when we ran this hackathon. So it was a coding marathon about creating maps to solve any kind of problems. I mean, data visualization is an amazing tool that helps us realize or, see on a map concrete problems. And this is what a team from Tanzania tried to solve through a mapathon that we created, so a map marathon. And they created a map to really bring more value to their communities back in Tanzania by spotting different areas of development that they could do, and they won first prize. And first prize meant for them winning $10,000 to share. It was a team of 4. And when they won against people in the US, people, having studied in Stanford, MIT, etc., and they won. They don't have a shiny degree, or they don't come from a shiny university, but they won. And when they won, they said, this amount of money may not be a lot for you, but for us, it's the equivalent of 36 months of salary. It's going to be a game changer for our community locally. And we will utilize that money to really make a change for our community. And that was chilling. I still have the chills. I still have the goosebumps today telling you that. It was one of the peak moments for me.
Right. I mean, that is an amazing story, and it really tells of, the great things that the internet being able to connect the world when we're able to share ideas in this way. This is the beautiful thing that can happen. So let's talk a bit about your own role. You've been CEO of at least 2 tech companies now. We talk a lot about representation these days. As a female of Asian descent, did you have any particular role models that inspired you to reach the top level, executive levels when you were younger?
When I was younger, well, today I have a list. I have a whole tribe of mentors and figures that I look up to. I have a list, actually, a whole list. And whenever I find someone new, I really put them into that list. Where do I start? I don't know. But I can tell you, like, for example, Arianna Huffington is a great inspiration, Brené Brown as well. And I mean, there's so many people. But I think it's very important to keep track of all the people you admire and really try to get and learn as much from them. Whether I have the chance actually today to be able to, through LinkedIn, for example, reach out to someone and say, hey, I really love what you do. Do you have 30 minutes to share with me how you achieved that particular portion? Because this is what I'm trying to achieve as the CEO of my company. And it's crazy. I have 95% of positive response.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I would not have dared to do that maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but today it's magic, and this is amazing how people are open to share their knowledge with you.
Now, I mean, when we're talking about representation as well, none of those models that you've mentioned so far were Asian females, at the very least. So how did you yourself break that mold? I mean, do you think it's important to have that kind of representation for us, to have role models to aspire to? It's
everything. You cannot be what you cannot see, for sure. I was fortunate enough to always have identified as a weirdo ever since I was young. And so breaking the rules is something that it's not that I do on purpose, it's something that I have to do because I have no choice. So when you don't really care about what people think or what they tell you you should do or what you should be, it's magic. Because then you're really free to become anyone you want and go anywhere you want. I know it sounds very cheesy, but to me it was instrumental into not following any guidebook out there. I think it's so rewarding today when younger people, especially young women, come to me and ask for advice. Or I do some mentoring sessions at HKUST very recently, actually. There were 50, 60 different young female future engineers, future business leaders in the room, and they had so many questions about how did you do that and how did you get there. It's super rewarding because all these questions I asked myself too, and I didn't really have anyone to go to at the time. So it's really, really, really nice.
Right. So share with us, what are some insights that you've had? What kind of experience did you have to gain? And what kind of challenges have you had to overcome, particularly as a CEO?
I think communication is one of the biggest challenges for everyone, especially internal comms. When there's a void in information, people tend to assume the worst. So over-communicate, especially in times of crisis, right now, like now. Another thing is, don't be afraid to be yourself. I mean, if you like to send hearts to your teams, it's okay. If you're quirky, if you feel like you should act like this or be more serious while not being, I'm kind of a jester sometimes, and I really own that. And this is actually what makes my team respect me, actually, and also make them want to be and bring their true selves at work. I don't believe in, when you go into a room and you have to hide yourself, which is the kind of things that I had to do in the past. And I was spending so much energy and time trying to figure out how I could hide how and who I really was, instead of actually just owning it and be myself and actually overachieving. And from the time when I got out of the closet, that was the time when I really was capable of unleashing my whole potential. And this is actually the messages that I tell the people that I talk to and who come to me for guidance. I tell them, hey, don't waste time trying to fit a mold, break the mold, be yourself. And also, please, it's criminal if you have superpowers that you don't use within your organization. So if you're great at something, even though it's not in your job description, you do that to your manager so that we can utilize that at its best.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for all those insights. That was Wize Solutions CEO Aurelie Wen. With that, we wrap up this edition of All About Money. We'll be back with more next week here on HKIBC. Be well and see you then.